Good evening from a warming up South Africa, 7 p.m. local time, and it's an all South African affair tonight. My name is Tina Snell. You are joining us for episode 59 of Velospitty Speak Talk. The episode is called A Rapid Mouthful, and the mouthful is because of the name of our guest, Kgopotso Mononyane. Kgopotso, good evening. Thank you for joining us. Welcome.
Hi, Tina. It's a pleasure to be here.
Okay. All right. Now, before we get cracking, there was a huge weekend of racing that was passed. We had great and close races on tarmac and on dirt. We had a great races in the Moto 3, Moto 2, Moto GP classes, and then an insane final moto in the MXGP at Arnhem in the Netherlands, where Lucas Koenen had a bad start and then chased down the sand rabbit, the world sandmaster Jeffrey Herlings, and finished fractions of a second behind. What a great race, and that one's worth viewing again. Did you follow any of the racing on the weekend?
Last weekend, I actually just followed the MotoGP race weekend in Hungary.
And what were your thoughts of the track and of the races and so on?
I think the Moto3 race was quite nice. I think that as well the track, quite new to everyone, and this is very well. It was very interesting to see the different, skill levels and stuff from all the riders and who could adapt really fast. So I think the Hungarian GP was full of surprises.
Yeah, actually, one of our very early interviewees, Maximo Quiles, did great in the Moto 3. And yeah, we actually predicted that he would be a great rider to come. Same with David Alonso in Moto 2, won his first Moto 2 GP. So that was, yeah, all in all, a great result. But in any case, let's get back to you. You are in South Africa now, but you spend most of the year in Europe. But I believe there are some scholastic uh, joys that you have. You have to be home for some exams. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so now I'm currently back home for my my preliminary exams that I have to write. Um, Normally throughout the year, I'm training in Spain with 101 management at Anscari Nadal's farm, where we train like motocross and stuff like that during the week, and karting training trials is it's always full, of different, riding styles and different riders, and it's quite nice, and uh, which is nice because he takes care of me when I'm training in Spain. So that is very nice of him. And as I said, now I'm back home doing my prelim exams just before the last race of the year in Misano in 2 weeks. So I had this gap to come home and study and do my exams.
Yeah, you mentioned Anscari, and actually, Anscari and myself go back a long, long way from the motocross days. But we'll speak about him and his team, and indeed, a great guy. We'll speak about him in time to come. But now you say you've got a little break in the season, but you're coming towards the final part of the season. How has it gone for you thus far?
Now for the Rookies Cup, we're going for the last race in 2 weeks in Misano, and we going for the second half of the season in uh, Misano in 3 weeks for the Junior World Championship. I would say for the Red Bull Rookies Cup this year, uh, I would say it was kind of a difficult season so far in the middle part of the season, as I had a bit of injuries from I think I had a injury. Well, I know I had an injury in France from Junior World Championship, and I had obviously the race weekends are normally back to back, so there's not so much time to recover. So I think I had three fractured ribs, and throughout the season it was obviously difficult for me to ride with these injuries, and I also had a crash in Le Mans in Rookies Cup, where it was also quite hectic where I had a small concussion. But other than that, I think also the beginning of the year for the Rookies Cup was quite nice, getting some points, fighting there in the front groups, where we finished in Mugello. Well, the racing is very close. You could be within a second would put you like 15th or 16th, on the grid. So the racing is quite close. Anyone can win, So it's all about race strategy, which is what I learned quite a bit this year from last year in being in the Rookies Cup. Is that the racecraft and everything is very very different compared to the Junior World Championship. And with the Junior World Championship, I this year I kind of I was I felt quite good, obviously staying with the same team, same environment, and same family. They supported me throughout last year. This is why I decided to stay with AGR this year. And we showing potential. Currently, I think I need to improve my races, because we show a lot of potential inside the practices and the free practices and the qualifyings. We just have to improve a lot on the races, at the final parts of the races and in the middle. Final parts and the starts of the races where we struggle a bit, but I feel quite confident ahead for the second half of the season for Junior World Championship and the last race of Misano, because throughout the summer break I've kind of been, as I said, I'm studying for my prelim exams, but I've been as well crafting the stuff that and working on the stuff that I've been struggling with throughout the first half of the season. So let's see what the second half brings.
All right. All right. Sorry, I missed the mouse there to bring myself in. Well, that was quite a mouthful. So you're doing the name of the program a lot of justice. Now, you mentioned the two main classes that you involved in: Red Bull Rookies, which is a one-make series, all KTM's, and then the FIM Junior GP, which is a very high level of racing. It's half a step. I'm not even calling it the step. It's a half a step below Moto3 World Championships. So take us through how you experience it, the differences between these two classes and the bikes and the competition in these two different classes.
Well, I would say starting off with the Rookies Cup, the Rookies Cup is quite explosive as a category. There's a lot of riders that you kind of got to be fast from the start. Because we only have Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. We don't have much time, much practices. We have two practices on the Friday and a qualifying on the same day. It might be a new track, but from session one, session two, FP1 and FP2, you already have to be on the lap record. So in one day of learning the track. So I think the Red Bull Rookies Cup is quite explosive, quite adrenaline. A lot of riders that come from all over the world. You experience different riding styles. You experience different, as I said, riding styles. So it's quite nice as well. The Rookies Cup. On the other hand, as I'm racing the Junior GP, it's kind of a whole different game. Quite similar. As we have most of some races in the Rookies Cup, racing in the Junior World Championship. Um, I would say the Junior World Championship is quite competitive because we have more practices before the race. This allows us to kind of build into the weekend and work a lot on the track. We have 4 days of riding instead of three. We start from Thursday already. Thursday free practice 1, 2, and Friday 3 and 4. So I think the junior world championship is kind of like the world championship. You have to be quite precise, quite to be on the top step of the podiums or something to that like that. You have to strategize your weekend quite well. The races as well. Normally in junior world championship this year, the level has risen again, as we could see, like in Aragon, we're like the top was less than 1 second from the World Championship lap records. So that is why like the Junior World Championship is quite close to the World Championship, because we have more days we have to train on the track, and we have teams, more professional teams, and the team that I'm in right now, AGR, is quite professional, which brings me closer to the top, So yeah, that's what the difference is between the Junior World Championship and the Rookies Cup.
Yeah, it's actually you're quite right, and you're mentioning riding styles, and then you have like Veda Pratama or Kim Danish, and then there's some unique styles there, and of course Brian Uriarty, who's at the moment leading, and I think Uriarty came very very close to the title last year, and for sure. Like Jose Antonio Rueda, like Max Quiles, like all of these guys, when he goes to Moto3, he'll be ready, because when you're at the top of these classes, you're not going to slot in the middle of Moto3. You're going to be, I think, normally competitive straight away. Now tell me, you were talking about Mugello, and of course, the Red Bull Rookies Cup is always in conjunction with the MotoGP event. So I guess it's great to be able to see the Moto3, Moto2, MotoGP guys in action, the guys that you look up to, and also compete on the same track so that you can see where your lap times are in comparison, say for instance, to the Moto3, although I know the bikes are not the same. So having said all that, who would be your favorite riders in all of the MotoGP paddock, and which is your favorite track that you've been to?
As you said, we as Rookies Cup race at the MotoGP events in Europe, and I think it's very nice. Like I don't even think I know it's very nice to be watching and racing on the same weekend as these riders, because they're the best in the world. We have riders from Moto3 that I can look up to MotoGP, and Moto2, Moto3, and MotoGP, and for me, it's just incredible to see them on track. Even in person in the paddock, as you walk in the paddock, as a Rookies Cup rider, and you just see the MotoGP riders passing by, or even when I'm eating at the KTM Hospitality, I'm just, let's say I'll have Brad Binder, or I'll see Darren outside the Hospitality or something like that. We would speak and stuff, so it's quite nice. I definitely look up to Brad, he's quite an inspiration to me, as well as I would say Fabio Quartararo. He's quite an inspiration to me as well. I don't know. They've been my idols from the beginning, since I started racing. So yeah, those are the guys that I look up to.
All right, and when you look at the track, which track do you enjoy the most?
I would say my favorite track would be Mugello.
All right.
Mugello is incredible. It's incredible.
Yeah, we'll get to your experience of Mugello and where you started off and all of that, of course, because you have some Italian racing heritage as well. But now, look, you've spoken about this and that, and we've covered quite a bit of ground. And I thought, let me do something for you and put a little video clip together of things that I found. And so I hope you've got some popcorn ready. If not, ask Mom to get you some, and we'll spend a few minutes watching yourself. I hope you enjoy it.
Hi guys, my name is Bubesi Kwaito. I'm a musician from South Africa. This is a tribute to Kgopotso Mononyane KG, who is one of the top younger racers from South Africa, racing for Red Bull Rookies Cup and International Junior World Championship. I wish you nothing but the best. Gadla tsotsi. Gadla tsotsi. Shifta. Umphumile ngiyashisa. Ubona songivimba. Esiphile slima. No one
Mhm. Well, there you go. There's your video. I hope you enjoyed it. Had a bit of quiet though going there for you. I spoke to Bubezi yesterday and today, and he did that prelim for us. Now there's a lot to unpack from that little video. A lot. And the first off is I see you there performing a sport that's not racing. So tell us about that.
Well, sorry, can you ask the question
I
again?
say, I saw you busy with a sport that's not racing, martial arts. Tell us a little bit about
Ah,
that.
well, I stopped martial arts. I started doing karate when I was 4 years old. Since I was 4 years old, actually, and I stopped at 15 years old because I had started racing overseas. But yeah, I did karate, achieved my black belt. I think my second dan, which was quite nice. I was at the SLK karate, Sandra Low karate, which was very nice. I just had karate. Well, my parents put me in karate because it built a lot of discipline for me. As a racer, this you can see this now. As you can see this now, I have quite a bit of discipline. I would say it came from karate, as well as karate teaches me how to persevere in like different stuff, aspects in life. Kind of also take out a lot of aggression uh, from me, because I was a kind of a kid that had a lot of adrenaline. I would get a bit angry easily, so my parents as well put me in karate. But yeah, I think in 2019, I'd competed in Slovakia actually for the Karate World Championships. It was my first World Championship debut in karate. I think it was the WKF, and I did kata, which is just like performing on the floor. Your kind of katas. I don't know how to explain it more than that. But I did that, and I got seventh in the world, in my category, and in committee, which is fighting. I didn't do so well when I was young. Um, I think it was quite difficult as well. I think I had like 50 people in my category, so I think I got knocked out in the second round or something like this. But I think it was very, very uh, a different path. I would never that I haven't spoken about in a while. But yeah,
Well,
I think it
that's the
was
thing,
quite
you know,
nice.
when I research for my shows, even with Maximo Quiles, I did a video for him, and he said, "Man, you've got clips there that I didn't even know existed." You know, like of him when he was like really really small. There's a very cute clip of him coming to Rossi. And Maximo was tiny. Okay, he only started growing like 2 weeks ago, but he was always tiny. But then he was small, and he comes to Rossi, but he's got his arm in a cast already. And the commentator even said, "Oh, that's a future Moto3 rider." Never, little did he know that there was a near a Moto3 champion. But that's great with the karate. I love it when people are versatile in the sports, and I guess many of your fellow racers don't even know that about you, or no, or what.
Yeah, no, 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 I don't
Well,
think so.
now we've publicized it. Now it's now now it's on social media, you know, and everybody knows about it. But okay, now you said you started racing. Now, how did this all start? How did you get going, or how did you start in racing?
Well, I started racing. Well, my whole family is all runners, from my grandparents, great grandparents. They were all in running and like comrades running and stuff. And no one in my family's background had racing. And my dad kind of saw, well, when I was young, from a very young age, I loved going on my bicycle, and being on a bicycle already was like a joy for me because I was doing a lot of tricks and stuff like that. And my dad kind of saw this, I don't know, he saw something, but he got me like an electric scooter, like in those offset bikes. And from then I really enjoyed it, kind of doing tricks on my uh, road. And one day I was at a school function with my family, there was brides and stuff at school, and there was actually Semra, NSF 100 Academy was there, running like a dyno on a like a bike on a dyno at the school, kind of advertising their training camps that's going to happen like Durban and all that stuff, trying to bring in potential riders, into the categories. And I kind of took my dad and said, let's go and explore what this is. And we went on the dyno, and it was my first time actually on a gas motorbike, kind of already twisting the throttle and stuff, got my adrenaline up. And my dad entered inside this kind of racing academy, and we did my first training at the Rock on the NSF 100, and from there was
Yeah. Oh,
up,
yeah.
I
Yeah.
think.
That's when you light the fire,
Was it
and that fire doesn't go out ever. And that's a great story. And I think you did well in the NSF 5, in the NSF class as well. I think you got the title in a few years after that, right?
Yeah, I had won the title into my second year
Oh,
of
that's
racing.
great. That's a pretty good start. All right, and all right. So, but I see on the video and on your social, there are quite a lot of pictures of you on MX and enduro. All you've got a J number, so I know what that means. It's off road. So, did you do competition in that as well?
Yes, I actually kind of, well, we as we got into road racing, my dad also wanted to explore my motocross. So I was also I also loved motocross, watching it because doing this, the guys were doing cool tricks and all that stuff. And we decided to also do motocross and see why not. And then I loved it from there. And I was actually racing GXCC, which is the endurance South Africa. You know, uh, it wasn't like hard enduro. It was kind of quite an easy enduro, but we would race, I think, 2 hours non-stop. from there, I loved enduro actually more than racing motocross on the tracks, because I had an incident actually where I broken my collarbone on my second year, or the first year I was racing um, with 85s in motocross, and from there I didn't like jumps and stuff, so I kind of liked more the enduro. I was quite quick. I think my best result in the endurance was in the JXCC was fourth or something like this in the 85cc junior. Oh no, actually, that in overall the junior I had won. But yeah, it is really incredible. It was really incredible to do the motocross and enduro at the
Yeah,
same
well,
time.
you've got the fan there with Anscari, because he believes in that. At his ranch they've got flat track and everything, and it's him and I are both believers that in order to handle the tarmac, you need to know how to slide a bike, how to do everything, and so it's good you have a cross country kind of background. I knew that because I saw the J number plate. All right, now then you went. Okay, you made your way through South African road racing, and then an international opportunity beckoned, and you went to Italy to the CIV. I think. Did you ride Premoto 3, or which class did you ride there?
Yeah, in 2021 actually, I started halfway through the season. I had this opportunity came that they were looking for a rider, from Italy. They reached Motorsport South Africa, and Motorsport South Africa had contacted me. As a youngster going overseas, it was a really big opportunity for me. So yeah, I started, I think, from the third race in the Pre-Moto 3. Obviously, no experience in Italy, no experience anywhere. And already in my first race, I'd gotten points. So this was a very, very incredible experience. I think my first race was in Imola, which is not an easy track as well as the first race. I think it was already um, 3 years into my racing career. I had gone overseas. Obviously, my parents and everyone had seen this, kind of potential to race because I had progressed so fast. I'd already won championships in South Africa in 3 years of racing. So that's when in my fourth year I had gone to Italy to race in the Pre-Moto 3 in 2021. 2022, I had done my full season, which I got top 10 inside the championship. 2023, I moved up to the Moto 3's Italian championship, which is nice. So in 2023, I raced in the Moto 3 Italian championship. I think my best result was fifth. So yeah, it was quite incredible.
Sorry, I missed myself again, and we had some chat messages. Somebody called you an inspiration, and that's my friend Rudy Olivier. It's a guy that actually went to primary school with me, and now you must know that's more than 10 years ago. So it's a long time that we've come, and he was watching, and he said, you're an inspiration. Yeah, I remember, because one of our very first guests on the show was Dodo Boggio, and I think you were in his team, right, when you did Pre-Moto 3 or one of the series in Italy?
No, he actually, I think he did like a wild or
Okay.
something with my
Okay.
team. But we weren't
Yeah,
in the
and
same.
of course Italy has got a very competitive series as well. But if you want to get super competitive, you have to go to Spain, and we'll get to the Spain story now. Years where things got hard for you, because I think your dad had just signed you when he passed away suddenly in a big tragedy there, and and huge respect to you and your mom for pushing through, and I know it's not easy. How did you cope, and how did you get through that?
Yeah, so through 2021, I think, yeah, my dad had signed the contract. That was actually the day before he actually passed away for my first like to race in my first race in Italy. But yeah, it was quite devastating because we had been preparing for this like my this Italy debut. I think I don't know what was the first race. I can't remember, but yeah, that's why I'd missed the first three races of the year, as because he had already signed the contract, but that's why I missed the first three races of the year because I wasn't like in the right headspace and stuff, and I hadn't ridden for like 3 months. I it was quite difficult to ride again because as well my dad was like one of my closest people that are like my best friend. We all always go to the track together and everything. So yeah, one day he just went to work and the day he passed away, I was actually at the track training with my uncle because he had sent me with my uncle to go train, but he had some work to do in Durban. So yeah, uh, that is a kind of a difficult kind of place to come back from. So yeah, I'm just glad that my mom was there to help me, you know, put me in the right headspace, kind of still believe in my dreams. Uh, she was there to help me kind of lift me up, you know, because my racing and my dad had believed in me, to reach top height and reach heights in the racing world. So uh, I till this day now I'm still uh, I race for him. That's why I have on my helmet, "Love you forever, Papa," and ride with me. Because he's always with me, and he'll always be with me on my racing journeys.
Yeah, and I think you would be incredibly proud of what you'd achieved, because I mean, for many riders to achieve Red Bull rookies and Junior GP, it's out of thousands of races, it's 30, 40 riders that make it onto those grids. That's already a massive achievement, with a lot more to come. So yeah, that is indeed great that you got. And how did the contact come with Italy? How did your dad reach out to teams in Italy, or how did you get that connection with Italy initially?
Oh, so basically, M&M, the team that I was racing for, had contacted Motorsport South Africa, and Motorsport South Africa had obviously. I think at the time I was leading the championship as for the 150s Cup, and they were looking for like a rider kind of in that similar category that was kind of had potential to race overseas. And Motorsport South Africa had reached out to me, or to my dad, uh, because obviously, as I said, in my first 2 years of racing, I had incredibly progressed already, started going well with my championships and my riding. So they had reached out to me, and from there, my dad and the team had been connected.
All right. Okay. Yeah, that's great. It's a great story. Now, I must tell you an interesting story. I used to own a motocross world championship team, and I helped Grant Langston. He wasn't in my team in Europe, but I helped him to get to Europe. And then Tyler Rattray, I did take over, and also Gareth Swanepoel, who's now very prominent. He trains the star Yamaha racing team guys in the States, Hayden Deegan and these guys. He's now their trainer. But Grant Langston and Tyler Rattray became world champions a little bit later on. And then everybody thought that there's something magic in the prickly pears in South Africa. So everybody was coming to South Africa looking for motocross talents. And I think somebody like Brad and Darren that had gone there, and also other guys, South African guys that had done well overseas, it maybe set people thinking, and they say maybe there are some undiscovered talents. So maybe that's why they came looking for you. And now when you go overseas, does mom spend all the time with you, or how does she handle it?
No, so like now for 2 years, last 2024 and 2025, now this current year, I actually moved to Spain in 2024 January, alone, because obviously my mom has work here and I have a sibling, which is my sister, my younger sister. she's doing school here as well, and my mom and my sister obviously stay here at home. So I was sent actually overseas by myself to kind of make a living for myself. So yeah, my mom and sister are actually at home with family
Yeah,
and stuff.
and now you mentioned the country Spain, of course, because that is ground zero for racing. I mean, if you look at the world champions and the teams and everything and the control Dorna with both MotoGP and World Superbike, it's a huge Spanish thing. So you literally have to be there, much like you have to be in Belgium for motocross. It's a very similar thing. So how did you make the connection to Spain and make your first move there?
Um, I'd actually, well, I've seen in 2024, I I was training with Riders Formation, and obviously we knew that when we entered the Rookies Cup in 2023, that advises us as well, like, how most of the riders are training in Spain, and it's just the environment to train in to be the best, because as well, Rookies Cup is one of the hardest championships in the world, teenage championships. The best riders in the world are racing there, so they all training in Spain, and uh, as me, as a rider, and my family that is very passionate, uh, we wanted to explore this kind of training and this racing overseas. To be the best, you have to be training with the best. So yeah, I from there we had looked for academies that I could stay at, train with kind of fast riders, and I trained with, I think, Riders from, well, 2024 I was training with Riders Formation. We were training with the likes of Valentin Perone, as he's now in the World Championship. So it's quite nice to be around that environment. And now in 2025, I'm also staying in Spain, where I'm training at one-on-one management, training with Colin Veiga, Cormac Buchanan, Christian Daniel. So we're training. I'm in a good environment, good place, to kind of reach heights and learn from these guys. Sometimes even when I'm training in Spain, I see Brad Binder, I see the likes of Pedro Costa, you know, Jose Antonio Rueda. We're training, training with the best in the World Championship, riders in the World Championship, and this is what is needed. And I learn a lot when I'm with them. I learn when they overtake me, when I try and make overtakes. We learn a lot when you're there. You see a different world, compared to what you train in South Africa.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah.
Well, it's the same in motocross terms. If you go to Lommel on a Tuesday training, it's like a GP there. There's like MXGP and MX2 guys, and like insanely fast guys. And you mentioned, incidentally, Valentin Peroni, and he came very, very, very close to winning his first Grand Prix last weekend. In the end, I don't know if you saw that finish. Him and Maximo there. Peroni actually had to push a little bit away because Maximo was coming across a little bit. So yeah. Speaking of coming across, there was a similar thing with Maximo before in rookies. I think he got a one race ban. I don't think it was deliberate, but he just swift. And unfortunately, the guy that went down there was Ruche Moodley. And Ruche is another rider. He is already on in the Moto3 group. He's in the World Championships, and like you, he suffered with some injuries during the season. How is your contact with him, and how do you see his progress going?
Yeah, me and Rishi are quite good friends. Normally on the race weekends we see each other, because when he's racing in the World Championship, time some of the European rounds as well there with the Rookies Cup rounds, and this is very well. We had a friendship already from uh, like racing in South Africa. We were both racing in the 150s, and then yeah, he had just started racing overseas in the Junior World Championship and the ETC. So yeah, when we were both racing in Junior World Championship and the Rookies Cup last year in 2024, yeah, I would be around with him in paddock. We would speak quite a bit, and yeah, he kind of progressed so much, from Rookies Cup and eventually now being in the World Championship. It's a very, it's also an inspiration to me, to show that it is achievable, and like how what he's doing now is incredible, where we see him getting a lot of points, strong points in the World Championship. Shows that he arrived quite ready. We see he got a world podium in the Rookies Cup, and yeah, I think for me it's quite a good inspiration to be around and be, good friends and good mates with
Yeah,
him.
and it's a huge pity that he got injured when he did, because he was hitting. I mean, in the qualifying, then he was hitting. He was getting into Q2 easily, and rocking near top five. And I was saying to somebody, because I'd seen this with the motocross, when that click comes, it comes in a big way. You're a 16th position rider, and then suddenly you're a top four. And I thought it was there, but I think the injury, of course, is a long time in recovering, and it knocked his confidence maybe a bit. But yeah, we'll happily see what happens with Richer. Now, you mentioned Anscari Nadal from 111 Management, and his team that you're a member of. How did you? Because Anscari and I know each other for a long time, from going back to the motocross days, from the early 2000s. How did you get contact with him and eventually conclude the deal to be in his team?
Well, I actually got contact with Anscari while I was racing in 2024 with Riders Formation. I was actually planning on doing Rookies Cup in 2024 only, and luckily a bit of sponsorship from South Africa had came up, and you know they also advised me to race in the Junior World Championship, and we got in contact with Anscari. Luckily, he was the only person that we got in contact with, and he was the right person to be in contact with, to race in AGR. And it was, now as I'm, fortunate to be in this team, it's very nice because he built like an environment where he builds riders, that go to the World Championship. We could see also the team kind of helps us and the riders to ride in a better way. We learn a lot in a weekend, like incredibly, and it was good to be in contact with Anscari because I did and going from the Italian Championship to the Junior World Championship is another big step. I would say it's a big step because in Junior World Championship it's uh, both the Rookies Cup and Junior World Championship in 2024 had opened my eyes a bit more. So yeah, it's incredible to be in these championships. Obviously racing with the best in the world. You know, now as I'm currently training with him, Anscari, who he's helping me to be closer to the top. And yeah.
Well, yes, and I think he's got a very professional setup. You've got each rider's got a full complement of staff. He doesn't mess around, and of course, like I said, he's got the ranch. So that's a great 360 experience. You can do everything there. You can off road, you can swim, you can walk and run in the bushes, you can mountain bike, you can cycle, like we showed in the video, and so on. Now, obviously, you've said your plans are, because both age-wise and cost-wise, I think it's the ideal is for you to remain in Junior GP for another year and aim for top results. Because once that happens, and like I said, the team owners know if somebody is top 10, top 5 in Junior GP, they are normally ready to go to Moto 3. The case in point, for instance, is Casey O'Gorman. He had one wild card with the 658 team. One wild card, second wild card, he was already in the points. So is that how you see your path in the future?
Yeah, well, exactly that is that I feel that the Junior World Championship, as you said, being in the top five in the Junior World Championship is incredibly difficult, and it's incredible. It's an incredible achievement because you know that when you go to the World Championship, it is uh, you know kind of a points finish or points, somewhere there, because in Junior World Championship, as I said, it's a every year the level rises and it becomes closer and closer to the World Championship. As we saw that Casey O'Gorman had his wild card in Austria. He's a regular top five finisher in Junior World Championship, and we could see that already in his second wild card. He had been in the top 15, as well as Marco Morelli, the likes of Marco Morelli, who's now also finishing a lot in the top five, had qualified in his first wild card in Brno in eighth place. So I think my path for next year would likely be Junior GP. This year is, as I said, now we still going for the second half of the season, and this kind of still is a good opportunity, because next year we obviously the plan is to race in Junior GP as well again. Aim for the top results because we we're showing the potential this year. In the practices and all that stuff, and we just have to get it right now. Closer to the end of the year is where we want to see ourselves being closer to the top again, and now next year we obviously try to raise funds to race in the Junior World Championship.
Yeah, you mentioned it.
Showcase.
That was going to be the next question, and just to get back to what you said, with practicing well, and then sometimes the race is not going according to plan, because there's a whole different dynamic to it, and the headspace is sometimes different with practice to the racing, and it's a whole. It becomes a whole mental game, which I think Anscari is good with as well. He'll identify that and take and guide you in that. Now you mentioned the costs, because this is not sending your kid to play soccer or rugby. If a racing parent hears a soccer or a rugby parent complain about costs, they say hold my beer, because it's on a completely another level. So what in your experience, it can run into hundreds of thousands of euros for a year, for a season, especially for you coming from so far away. So what do you do to make it happen, to get yourself on the grid?
Well, as you're speaking about, the cost is incredible. Obviously, it's almost like we're racing. At the end of the day, we're racing motorcycles. Motorcycles aren't cheap. So racing overseas and being from South Africa, is quite a big difference. In the currency exchange, and I mean, yeah. Well, in the currency exchange rate, and it's as well as being, having the talent to race overseas, and you know, uh, obviously in these respected championships, you need kind of a lot of sponsorship to be racing over there. As my mom is the only one here in my family, we, as for me, I try to reach out to sponsors in South Africa a lot, to try and get that sponsorship to kind of fund my racing overseas. So yeah, like right now we also still trying to get sponsorship. Well, I'm applying for next year as well. Uh, to kind of ride, obviously, to pay for flights. To live in Spain, to train with the best, and to obviously be on the grid. Uh, I would say we getting kind of we're getting some support from Motorsport South Africa. We're getting some support um, from others, small sponsors here and there, to kind of gather and race overseas. Obviously, it's quite difficult, uh, you know, for these sponsors as well to pay for the racing, as it is quite a lot. So yeah, normally it is not it is quite difficult on track, but it's as difficult off track to
You
be on the
put your
grid.
finger on it now because I owned a team like Anscari does now, and I know exactly because that thing it's like a big crocodile coming into your pocket and just taking huge big bites out of whatever is in there. By the way, I forgot to ask you. I saw in the video, in looking for your videos, you made it onto carte blanche. Now that is huge. In for those people who don't know, carte blanche is or was South Africa's major journal program on a Sunday evening. Just about everybody watched carte blanche, and you made it. I mean, if I were to make it on carte blanche, I'd need to smuggle a lot more diamonds. That's maybe the only way. But, but you made it, and how did you do it? And what was the experience like to be like on national TV, prime time in South Africa?
Well, it was quite an experience, to be fair. Uh, I even forgot how we got in contact. Oh, well, Carter Blanche actually just had sent me an email saying they want to do like a kind of a background, exposure thing on me. And yeah, we had accepted it. Their offer, they came, we were filming for about a month or so. Uh, inside the house, going to trainings, going outside the house, my daily life, kind of give me that exposure as one of South Africa's young and upcoming racers. They had kind of seen this potential my potential, and reached out to me, which was great. So yeah, they gave me that exposure. They came to my house, did all the filming. It was my first time. I was also overwhelmed. They did some filming on my mom and my family, and uh, we had some filming with my friends as well. And it was incredible to be on Carte Blanche, being streamed and watched myself on TV for the first time. Yeah, even I think I had like a more than more than 10 minutes or something like that on like a 20, 15 minute
Yeah.
show.
You can't
And
pay
we
for that.
also,
You can't pay for that. 15 minutes of editorial on a top TV show in South Africa. That you can't find the money for that. That was huge. And the thing is, even with now and carte blanche and speaking to um, interviewers at the track, Red Bull Rookies, they are very good with training the riders as well. Because it's so important to get your media skills right. You mentioned Peroni. He's a great talker, and it didn't used to be like that in many years ago because if somebody was from South America, maybe they struggled a little bit with language and so on. But now they all have to be media savvy. This is what Rossi did so very, very well. People have to be really, really media savvy, and now you've got a Spanish or an Italian or a Hungarian or whatever guy, you're going to expect they speak good English, So yeah, that's great. Now, we're getting to the end of it. Wow, it's this went really nice. I said to Anscari, we'll do in half an hour. We nearly double that. You mentioned your sponsors and this and that. Obviously, a lot of people have stood by your side and raised you up over the period, and I mean, you can never think of everybody. I know it's your head is just full of it. But who do you think you should thank particularly for bringing you this far?
Um, I would have to thank, like obviously now Red Bull South Africa is giving me some products and stuff, for my trainings. I have a bit of, well, when I'm back home, Pirelli is giving me a lot of tires to train with, which is nice. I have Lacquer Racing as well, which when I'm home, they look after my bikes and give me support, which is, well, like racing in Edenvale, they make sure that my bikes are all right. When I'm back home, I'm always training on top machinery. I would have to say as well, we trying now. We're almost on the journey of getting a bicycle brand South Africa to kind of to get me sponsorship to ride. But yeah, there's quite a bit. Obviously, my mom, um, which is my biggest sponsor, she's been incredible. Supporting my journey, and my family as well. BP South Africa as well. They trying as well to give me something small back. Fuel and stuff for my training. So most of it is all for my trainings and cover my flights and stuff. So it's really incredible that they've done this and the people around me as well as on Scary, which is she's helping me a lot. Get sponsorship from different Spanish different companies and stuff, that which is incredible. I also want to thank um, Anscari because he's as well sponsoring me some training in Spain where I'm training with him. This is also incredible for him to let me stay at his house and stuff. So yeah, I think it's. I thank everyone that's next to me and supporting me on my journey to the top.
Yeah, well, it's great, and it's great that you remember all those people, and I think those people feel a sense of pride because, look, to be fair, I sponsored, and it's more for helping and seeing that athlete performs and gets something, because I always said, when a sponsor says, "Oh, can I have a logo on the leathers or on the helmet or what or on the motocross on the clothing?" I said, "Sure, of course you can have a logo." I said, "But I hope that my rider goes fast enough that people don't see your logo when they go past." That was the idea. But it's just the idea of being involved in something like this and bringing a top South African sportsman to the international arena. Now, if people want to find out more about you, where do they find you? How do they contact you? Where do they see what you're doing?
They can see me on my social media pages, which is on Instagram and Facebook only. KJ underscore 45 underscore official. That's where you'll find me and all my content and all my racing updates. So yeah.
All right, and then of course Anscari handles a lot of your talks and negotiations. So with 111 management and AGR with his team. So yeah, that's great. Your appointment at the dentist is over. It wasn't that bad. So thank you very much for joining us. And I normally when we play a video now, one thing about the video, it's also on YouTube already, but it's not published yet because I always keep it back until the interview is done. So I will set it public immediately after this interview and send you the link, and I will also send you the actual video. So if you want, you can put it on your social media or whatever. And Bubezi said he's gonna follow now. He's gonna follow you. And by the way, when we used that song before from Bubezi, it was for Tim Geiser, and Tim Geiser is a five-time motocross world champion. So that's that's not a bad history for the song, actually. So thank you, Kgopotso. I really appreciate it. It was a great talk, and we'll catch up again next year and see how your things go. So yeah, we're gonna play out with your video, and just a final word from you.
Thanks, Tinu, for having me on here. It's incredible for you to give me this platform to speak about my career and my future. So I want to thank you on your side for this incredible interview and very
Thank you.
professional.
And that was our discussion, Velospitty Speed Talk episode 59. And there's going to be more of them coming. It was busy times. So actually, our previous interview was also with the South African Neil van der Vyver, who is this coming weekend flying to Italy for the Mountain Bike World Championship. So our best wishes accompany him. Yeah, we'll play out with Kgopotso's video again. And then, yeah, keep lookout on the Youth Force page and group, particularly Youth Force Racing Group on Facebook for notices about upcoming shows. And with that, from South Africa, till next time.
Hi guys, my name is Kgopotso. I'm a musician from South Africa. This is a tribute to Kgopotso Mononyane KG, who is the one of the top younger racers from South Africa, racing for Red Bull Rockies Cup and International Junior World Championship. I wish you nothing but the best. Kahla tsotsi. Kahla tsotsi.
Shifter, umphuthumbile ngiyashisa, ubona songivimba, esiphile slima, no one, never, abuse bonke, bazokutshela ukuthi himi umshokanda kiwa mvuka nghuba, ophanda nghuzuka, bakuphile bame bakhuluma bathi mina ngeke ngiphinde ngikhahle, bathathe chance, esinonkumphethu udalisa sokopa lesosi. Sheshen